Now imagine church people still used to stone people. You sin and they rock you down. You know, some big stone. Take that and you're fornicating, adulterous. Blurt. Nah, that is the old time thing. Church people don't do that again. Or do they? Bj'orn again with another storytelling clinic. Now this man, he very skilled at crafting narratives, and in his latest release, First Stone, he weaves different narratives together, two different ones, against the backdrop of a strong metaphor. That is worth some textual examination. Where's the poetry? In First Stone by Bj'orn.
Whoa, yeah.
Now the Western story arc has 5 distinct parts. I showed you this before, but let's just run it again. Exposition, rise in action, climax, fall in action, and resolution. That's how all your favorite movies crafted in Hollywood. How is Bj'orn going to go for this with 2 different characters? Well, the first thing he did, he got a metaphor that controlled the entire story arc, and the metaphor, of course, is the stone, the first stone, a biblical based symbol for judgment and scorn hurled towards them sinners by people who consider themselves more righteous or better positioned to cast a verdict. So while he has 2 characters, Christine and Michael, we'll get into them later, it's really the same story. Hey, wait there, I know all you like the poetry analysis, but I have a live show coming up, Borderline's Bucket List, November the 20th to the 30th at the Central Bank Auditorium. DM me now and find out how you could get your tickets. And that is the power of a solid metaphor. Now let me dive into the text. Established character. That is the first thing. The protagonist, Christine, is celebrated in the first 4 lines. Christine, 16, nice rhyme. By the 5th line, the conflict come in. A young boy come on the scene, and as young boys do, they cause conflict. He impregnate Christine, and in true church style, they mash up Christine. The man walk away unscathed. Watch him. He just holding his head, and Christine they ready to get rock and get string up. Now that image of itself is potent, because that is the reality, right? That is the reality. Of course, we have in there some metaphors, emotions flying, belly swelling, etc. to show what happened to Christine. So let's get into the chorus. When people do wrong, we often forget the times we fell down. Pretty direct and straightforward, which is key in gospel writing. You need to be very clear in your intentions as a minister. Then of course there's the biblical allusion and intertextuality of you know, the first stone. I also like the line, tough words don't mean love. Something about that is, you can think about that. How do we express tough love, you know? Like again, the second verse, which was a kind of tough verse for me. We have Michael, a 45-year-old ex-convict. Although the first stone metaphor grounds both narratives, I really appreciate that Bj'orn presents 2 very contrasting characters. We have the young girl, Christine, but then we have middle-aged people. Sometimes we forget that middle-aged people out here fighting too, man. It's not only the youths, it's everybody in the struggle. Now, what I struggle with in this stanza of verse was trying to figure out when Michael commit the crime. And I could have cheated and called Bj'orn and asked him, when exactly was the cold Thursday? Earlier in Michael's life or when he was 45? But that will take away from the fun and the vibes. Literature is all about the private investigation, the unraveling of the things that we're not so sure about. So let me see if we could dive in and see if we could figure it out. I'll help me here. Michael was 45 when he accepted Christ. Good, he's 45, he accepted Christ. He used to run down the gun thing all his life because he had young mouths to feed. So that part clear. He was a gunman for 45 years. He bad since he born, well, until he was 45, then he find Jesus. But then I started to get a little confused. Here the next line, he had no 9 to 5, so he draw his 9s. When exactly did this happen? At 45? Now, I ain't watched the video yet, I'm just trying to figure it out from the text itself as it's there on the page. The first 2 lines suggest that he used to run down the gun thing, and at 45 he stopped. But then he had young mouths to feed. Trying to figure out what happened there. He find Christ and still commit the crime. That is what happened. So that part of the text is a little ambiguous. To figure out when exactly he commit the latest crime. Yeah, what's going on? I go and watch the video. Give me a second.
He make one mistake on a cold Thursday that land Michael they behind bars. Good God, the man get locked up.
Alright, so the draw 9s thing did happen when he was 45. So the timeline in that verse is a bit confusing, but it works. Because now we don't know when he was a criminal. And the church people don't know either because they're still treating him like a criminal. So in a way the writing got a little escape there, but it could have been a bit clear up. But that particular line bad though, no 9 to 5, so I draw 9s and bust 5. Bap, 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 bap. That was 5. Anyway, that is some metaphor mixed into the irony of not having a 9 to 5, so you pick up a 9. Then there's also a powerful contrast right here. Watch this carefully and tell me if all you get this. A miracle happened and the man get bail, but people didn't offer him love. Who people? The church people. So in terms of getting him some level of leniency, look what happened. The state, the secular state government give this 45-year-old repeat offender because he was doing it all his life. He have a track record for gun thing. They give him leniency. But the church people not offering that man love. And to me, that is one of the most powerful contrasts in this song. And that's sad. That's real sad. But I like how Bj'orn also present complexities in the characters' lives. Yeah, Michael used to commit crime in order to feed his family. He just didn't like badness. And Christine, she was always a loving kind of girl, so her falling in love is not totally out of the way now. You know, you can't really hate on them for that. The video ended with a strong image of Christ's bloodstained hand, and that thought not directly in the text, but the thought there from the whole metaphor of cast the first stone, and if you understand that biblical allusion. Bj'orn with another strong narrative. 8.2 out of 10 on the poetry scale. There's the poetry in First Stone by Bj'orn. Again, listen, all references we use and the lyrics to anything we use are right in the description below this video. Remember to like and subscribe if you appreciated the content, and if there's some text that you want us to analyze, just drop it in the comments below. We'll get it and find out where's the poetry.